incognito, I think.
It's too funny. Like, I see you having like a website with a logo, and the logo is like this, the image, the visual image of your hair, and then a pair of bright red lips. And I think it would, and maybe the eyebrows too. I think it would look like really cool. It's visually already there in my mind. But here's something. Let's just go back, right? So we actually both come from an IT background. I used to work for IBM back in the day as a business analyst for them. Yeah, I used to do user acceptance testing and business analysis. It's so boring. But then you were doing that until recently, but then gave it up, right? So how did that evolve? Tell me a little bit about that.
Well, it started to be that it became so the strange job that I now do. A lot of it is just really being active on social media and talking to people and encouraging women. And I like to think being a little bit of a, I don't know if mentor's the right word, but I get lots of emails and lots of messages and with questions and, things they want to talk about and things they want to chat about. So that takes a lot of time. So those things started to grow. And then my little modeling hustle started to grow. So I decided to just take the leap of faith and see if I could make it work. And it took a long time, but it took a long time to make it. I mean, I have to earn a living as well. So it took a long time for that to start happening.
And do you think that took a long time because of the fact that older women are not usually celebrated in the modeling world? I mean, is there anything about that you want to like dig into? Because now you're in a completely different environment than you were when you were in an office environment, right?
Yeah, look, I think we're definitely still underrepresented in the media for sure, but it is changing, and we are finding our space. I think it's slow, but I mean, I haven't had really any negative comments in the industry. I mean, obviously, not from individual people, but in the industry in terms of, with the work that I'm doing and so on. I feel that it is growing, and I think that more and more, certainly here, I don't know what it's like there, but more and more people are wanting to look for older models for their campaigns and so on. It's starting to take hold, but it's slow.
Right. Yeah. No, I'm not in that world, so I don't know. But I do know that I do try to find imagery if I'm ever working on a project or something. And it's almost like it's impossible to find imagery of a middle-aged woman that doesn't look like somebody out of the Golden Girls. Alternatively, we go from like the 20 to 30-year-olds, and then we go to becoming older, and it's like there's this big gap in the middle in so many aspects, not just in modeling, and it's almost because we're at the stage where we're actively, we're always aging. It's a stupid thing to say, but aging might accelerate. We might start to get a few extra wrinkles, grey hair, etc. And I almost think it's because that element of a woman isn't celebrated. We're supposed to be forever young and skinny and, with brown or blonde hair, whatever. I think that I personally think there's a ton of work to do, because what I see is that we still see the negative connotations about actively aging. And it's usually like, yeah, this is what a middle-aged woman looks like, so here's the cure or the solution to stop that happening. And it's like, oh my God, it drives me crazy.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, I think that in our society, women, it's early. It's really early that they start hating themselves for their wrinkles and start having all sorts of treatments and so on. And it's the word is spreading, but not fast enough. I mean, I still have people saying to me, "Why don't in my comments? Why don't you try and look younger? Why are you doing this? Why don't you put a nice little rinse in your hair? I would never ever do that.
Why? Yeah, I know, but in fairness, I remember doing my grand's hair with a purple rinse, and I would just think that looks really cool on her with a little perm. But keyboard warriors drive me crazy, and it's not keyboard; it's literally phone people that like hide behind their words. They would never speak to people like that in public, into people's spaces. And I always think that when you respond to someone, respond to them in the way that you would do it if you authentically showed up and just said, like, this is how I feel about it. But the other part of that is, why are you fucking commenting on how I look? Like, why? Right? I'm a woman and this is how I look. So why do you feel it's completely necessary to actually comment on this?
think there's this perception that because you're on social media, and they say it, well, if you're on social media, you're going to expect that. You can't just get compliments. You can't just, but I disagree with that completely, because this is a job that I'm doing. I'm doing a job, even though it might at times feel like it's not a job, because you're posting, pictures of
maybe somewhat unconventional. It seems unconventional, but this is the way the world is, right?
It's my job. My job is to inspire women to embrace their age and to stop feeling bad about themselves. And I like to think that I get enough messages to tell me that I'm achieving that. So this is my job. The fact that I'm posting a selfie doesn't matter. The message is still loud and clear. That is my job. And I think, would you walk up to the lady in the bank and tell her that, whatever, she should do something about her hair? I mean, you would just never do it. So I disagree with that idea. I think it's just awful that people, think, because people have an idea about influencers being people who sort of jump around, doing whatever they're doing. But I don't, and for a while I didn't like to think of myself as an influencer. Maybe inspirer is a better word, but it is a job, and it's an important job, and it's the message. It is important. Lots of people, more of us have to do it. So
I think what inspired you to do that though? So I know you left your job to do this, but what actually was the catalyst? So you decided you wanted to do some modeling, and that's what pays the wages, but there was something in you that felt like it was more than that though. There was something that you needed to share with women. And I wondered sort of where that came from. There's always a seed, isn't there?
It was a bit, it was accidental. Honestly, I had my job, which was fine. And then I started the modeling thing, and it kind of took off. And then I started the Instagram account. I had no clue what Instagram was, and I started the Instagram account. And quite quickly, I realized from the messages that I got in magazines reaching out to me and asking me to feature me and so on, I realized that it wasn't about the modeling at all. I mean, the modeling is a nice support for the message, but it wasn't about the modeling at all. It was about saying to women, you can have a wrinkle and that's okay. You can have silver hair and that's okay. So that became the message for me. So it was actually very, very inadvertent. Really, really genuinely. I never started an Instagram account thinking that it would. I didn't even know what Instagram was. I couldn't understand. Looked at the hashtags and I was saying to people, I don't understand how it could possibly work. It seems so weird. So it was accidental. It was completely.
Yeah. Do you think it was driven by you posting and people commenting, and you maybe saying things like, oh, you're so brave, going great, or maybe you're so, was it that? Because I had the type of comments I get, you're so brave, Amanda, wearing a crop top. I'll wear a fucking crop top if I want. Come on.
Yeah, no, I suppose it was. I don't know. I should look back at my early posts and see what.
Yeah.
Because also my messages, I don't often even say my message. I just live it, and that's enough. I don't almost even. It just happens, women say to me, I'm inspired by you, and I've cut my hair, I've let my hair go grey, or I've changed my job, or I've gone back to work, or I've moved country. I mean, I get these wonderful messages from women, and it's been sparked by something that I've done or said, so it really was. And I'm sorry if that's disappointing, but it was accidental.
Well, I think we often find ourselves in places we didn't think we'd be. Yeah. I mean, I didn't think I'd be here, but here we are, right? And then so just digging a bit deeper into that, because that's literally what I do. There's a scab and I just want to keep picking at it, right? But it's so, I mean, have you always been this confident? Have you always been the person that's like, oh, I've got a wrinkle, oh, I'm totally fine with that? Or is it something that you've had to dig deep in? And I'll give a quick example of how it was for me. Is I went to a picnic when my kids were 4 or 5, and so 15 years ago, and it was me sitting, smiling, looking into the distance, and I'm, the sun's out, so I'm crinkling my eyes, and all I can see in this picture is these crows' feet. And I didn't even find the picture, but it got posted to a group, and people were saying, oh, Amanda, this is my most favorite photo of you that I've ever seen. And all I could see was, I look old, I look wrinkly, I'm in my 30s, and this is how I look. And you think that looks a nice version of me. So therefore, if you look at me front on, is that a nice version when I've got, and I just got wet, I went spiraling. And it's only as I've got older, I've just been like, oh my God, what was I thinking? And I'm really okay with how my skin is aging. I tried my best to keep it looking good, but like, I'm not trying to like deny anything's happening, but God, what that was work. And I wondered if like you had the same sort of like angst and denial or pushback.
Definitely. So I made a lot of changes when I was in the year leading up to my 50th birthday. I was feeling quite rotten about myself, that very thing. I got divorced in my mid-40s, and I felt unattractive. I felt that I was, a chap at work actually said to me, and I think he was probably joking, but talk about a bad joke. He said, "You're past your sell-by date."
What did you say to him after he got up? I'm just like saying I would have landed him.
Well, he was mate, he was a younger bloke, he's in his 20s, and it was like a throwaway line, but it really did send me into a bit of a spiral. I was dreading being 50. It seemed like a really terrible thing that was going to happen. I still was coloring my hair at that stage. I was still highlighting it blondie. And then in that year, my sister died. She was 37. I was 49. So she was much younger. She was 12 years younger than me. She died suddenly of a brain aneurysm. And well, actually 2 weeks before that, a very dear girlfriend of mine died of the same thing. So it was within 2 weeks that they both died. And, I think that was a lot of pause for thought. I'm the oldest sibling. There were three of us. I'm still here. I'm well. I'm, as far as I know. And I think that had a lot to do with that made a big shift. Also around that,
how to face your mortality head on when two people you dearly love just disappear. They've gone. That's horrendous. I'm really sorry to hear that. Yeah.
Very close. Yes. Terrible thing. So, and another thing that happened, and I hadn't thought about this until recently, but I think it was quite pivotal, was in a magazine, because I'm going back, how long is that? To 11. We weren't so much on social media. We had Facebook, but what was it, 12 years ago? I'm 61 now. There was a magazine article with a picture of Beatrix Ost in it.
Who's that? Who's Beatrix? Sorry.
Beatrix Ost. She does all sorts of things. She's an author and she does some modeling and so on. I think that she does lots of things. I will send you the picture. So I saw this picture of her in a magazine, and I think then she was in her 70s, I think. And I posted it on Facebook. I cut it out and scanned it, because we didn't have any other way of doing it. Scanned it and I posted it on Facebook. But the feeling that I got when I saw this photograph, I'll send it to you, the very picture. A woman who was clearly older. Her hair was I think it was sort of a little bit purpley, but obviously it was grey. It was grey hair. She had a bit of a fun colour in it. She had a turban on. It was covered, but you could see the grey hair. And she looked fantastic, but she was clearly an older woman. She looked vibrant. She looked stylish. She looked fashionable. I couldn't believe it. I just couldn't get over it. It was such a big thing for me, having seen this woman. I cut it out and I posted it on Facebook. It's still there. I can actually go back. I've looked recently. I think it was 2012. And one of my friends said, "Oh, she looks like she could be your older sister." And I was beyond thrilled. I thought, could I? Could that really be? That was another thing. So that's why I think that it is important for us older women to say these things, because, so I think those things. I think losing my sister and my friend, and that photograph, honestly, I can't even describe to you how it made me feel to see it.
So you maybe looked at that photo and saw, this is potentially how I can sort of not like a reinvention or but potentially this is how I can move forward and feel like really authentically about it. Is that maybe what you were thinking with that?
Yes, I can be older and I can be attractive. I can be stylish. I can, I don't have to be a dowdy. I always loved dressing up and so on. I was never really dowdy. But anyway, then around just after my 50th birthday, I became much more active. I was never active before. I became more active. And I just, switched a lot of things up in my life. So that was, and then 50, it's been great.
So you were like, it was almost like a line in the sand for you. Like there were these pivotal things that happened to you and you were just like, I get a choice now to decide how it's going to look for the last sort of third of my life, potentially. Like this is when people do those throwaway lines, the guy that said to you, you passed your sell-by date, those are the type of things that don't feel like they should hurt as much as, I mean, they should, it's inappropriate now. And I think you probably wouldn't say it in this day and age, but it's almost like you forget how those things make you, you don't maybe appreciate how they can make people feel, and they'll like dig deep. And maybe that was like resting there. And then you were just like, this is an opportunity for me to sort of like create the rules I want to live by. And my next sort of question on that, and I've done a bit of research on this from my book, but I've listened to people talking about how much happier they are after in their 50s, how they feel as though there's a sense of calmness and more, I don't know if the word I would use is certainty, but definitely a more like settled feeling that, you know, you can do it on your own terms, and there's nobody going to sort of like tell you how you should be living your life. Did you have that type of epiphany? Because I know that I personally did. I feel a lot calmer, and I don't feel a need to get Botox or get false eyelashes or you know, like when I'm seeing other people all starting to look the same, and I'm just like, I'm actually actively resisting that because it's not me. It's not authentic to me.
I think I've become braver. I forced myself to become braver. I think I'm not naturally a very, very, very confident person. I think I have to really sort of gird my loins and do the thing. I read that, you know, there's a famous quote, and they say it was Eleanor Roosevelt, but apparently it wasn't. But somebody said, do something to frighten yourself every day, something like that. Do something that scares you every day. And I really took that as a bit of a motto. And whenever I have something that is scary, because it happens all the time, I'm still fighting, you know, the demons. still not sure about myself, still not sure about a lot of things, even though I'm 61. I mean, I do feel more confident in some ways, and in some ways I do feel more confident of who I am and what I can do, and the aging is really, I'm okay with that. But I do.
Is it almost like the aging is sort of secondary to everything else then, and you're refusing to make that the onus that's put on you, which is, I think, what I'm hearing, and it's what I love, is that, like, so I'm 52, and I don't literally look at myself and think, oh, you're a 52-year-old woman. I'm like, because inside it doesn't feel like that. I don't even have an age on it, and probably like chronologically I'm 52, but like metabolically I'm probably not. But I don't sort of really care, and it's not the thing that defines me. And I feel like I'm hearing that from you. Yeah, you're a 61-year-old woman who's like looking as cool as, you know, you do, and you're really trying to like find that bravery every day and represent women. But the aging thing is, there's too much emphasis on it.
Yeah, that for me is not a thing anymore. There's so much we know now, isn't there? There's so many things that you can't learn unless you've lived a longer life. It doesn't matter how much you've read and how much you've done. There's just a whole lot of things that you can't possibly know.
It's true.
So I'm quite comfortable with that. But yeah, but the bravery I do. And I remember that often when I'm in a situation where I think, oh my goodness, you know, I'm in an event on my own or something, and you think, oh, you know, I've got to have to go sort of make some friends. And it's not always easy. You know, it's not, people say to me, how do you get your confidence? But I mean, your confidence is a thing that you make. It's doing it whether you're frightened or not. That's confidence. So then I take a deep breath and I say to myself, you know, this is the thing today that you have to do.
Yeah. And you can do it. Yeah.
With the crowd. So yeah, it's confidence.
That's actually a really great lesson though, because, you know, I do talk, and a lot of the women that listen to this are in their menopausal years. And I know for myself, I went through a few wobbly years where I wasn't sure what the path forward was going to be, what it looked like, if I was happy with the direction I was going. Did I actually believe in myself like I used to? I'm actually a super confident person. I don't really have confidence issues. I don't know if you can tell. But I actually did go through a period of time where I sort of doubted myself a little bit. And it was something that, you know, it didn't sit well with me. But from the audience I listened to them. Women really don't recognize themselves and don't feel confident at all. And they may be leaving their jobs, or, you know, relationships don't feel good anymore. And I know this happens all the time. And so I'm wondering, what are some of the things that women have shared with you that have made you realize that, you know, there's still work to do? Like, I'm not sort of trying to dwell on the negatives, but what are the sort of common themes that you hear from women when they say they don't like what they see? Like, how do you help them reframe that?
My goodness. Well, the negative Annies that sort of attack me, I don't try and help them. Yeah. But if I meet women I mean, I get into conversations with women, in the chemist queue, whatever, or everywhere. I mean, everywhere they talk to me. It's actually really lovely. People will just start talking to me and, oh, I love your hair, but I could never be grey. Whatever it is, I could never. And those are that's my opportunity for doing the work then, is to say how liberating it is, because having grey hair is the most liberating. It's like skinny dipping, it's like, it's just, wow, it's fantastic. And they all think they're not going to, I think they don't realize that what they see here is not what they're going to get. They can never actually anticipate what it's going to look like. And then my other line is, which is not necessarily my line, lots of people say it, but I say to them, they say, oh, but I say, I need to do something, and do you do, and I need to have a facelift. And I say to them, but those are your stories. That's your life. That's everything that you've, all the times you've been in love, and all the times, you've been up late and you've been dancing and whatever. But those are your stories. And they go, often, I haven't thought of it like that.
Yeah. Yeah. And it's almost like they're doing themselves a disservice by denying that, that the way their body's reflecting is based on, where they've come from. And I know it's not easy. I know it's very difficult for a lot of women. And especially when, maybe through menopause, things change, like as in the way they look and the way they feel, like their body shape might change and all of those things. And one of the things I try and do is just say, one of the easiest ways to get your confidence back is to feel physically able and capable. Right. And I think that's something that we know, athletic ability, the idea that you stay fully confident in your athletic ability, we know that sort of diminishes somewhat as we start to get older. And I see that when I see the way people maybe walk down the stairs, or they, or they're on the floor and they're not sure they can get up, or they would say, oh yeah, I used to be able to do that. I used to be able to do that. And I'm like, no, but you still can. It might look differently, but so one of the things you touched on was that, so that's why I encourage people to move, because movement builds confidence for me in so many aspects, not just like in athletic terms. But you said you'd been a bit slovenly prior to your 50s, and then you took on like the idea of being active there. So what does that look like for you? Why did you start? And then was it because of everything that happened with your sister and your friend, and then what does it look like now?
I think so. I think when I started, and I started out, I started, feeling that, because I also had some body hate, like a lot of women do. And I started thinking how lucky I was to be able to walk and and I started doing little walks in the morning before work, just little, and they turned into little jogs, and it sort of progressed for me. So now I'm not as fit, anywhere near as fit as you, unfortunately. But I do.
You have way better hair than me. I'm just saying.
I do go to gym most mornings I go in the week. The weekend, I try, if I get a chance to cycle, I do. Don't often, but I love my bike. So I do cycle my road bike. And then I go to gym in the mornings very early. Now it's getting winter. I don't know how that's going to look. Well, it's already dark when we get to go to gym, but we go and do cardio and core and weights and things. And we walk there and back. So it's a nice little warm up and cool down.
What's early? I am not a morning person, and I don't think I'll ever be. Like, I try, and it makes me sad getting up early. I just love my bed so much.
We get up at 5 and we're out of here at 5:15.
Oh my goodness.
At the gym by 5:30. Then we leave there at about 7. So it's about an hour and a half and walk back. It's a nice little 1K walk there and back. So it's a warm up and a cool down coming back.
Yeah.
I've just started Pilates, but I've only been for 3 or 4 lessons. So we're going to see how that works out. But I think that's a nice addition to my sort of other things.
And do you really feel, it sounds to me like you've really sort of like set yourself up that this isn't something that's passing. You're going to keep doing this, that this is integral to your life.
It's hard. Must be fun. Every morning when the alarm goes off, I just have to get out of bed, because if I hesitate, I won't get out.
All right. Yeah, I'm the hesitator. I'm like, I could do 10 more minutes and then I'll go back to sleep for 2 hours. That's me.
Yeah, it's hard for me, but I tell myself it's like brushing my teeth, or I just have to do it.
It is.
I think we have to do it. I don't think there's any option, really.
Nope. Not if we want to be independent as we get older. That's simple, right? Physical, mental, emotional, all that independence for sure. And so, you know, one of the things I wanted to talk to you about and ask you about is I love this though, and it's not radical, but it almost was perceived as such as when you came on Instagram without any makeup on or without your hair done, like pretty much like I look now, like you've just washed your face and you were like, I'm going to show you how I do my makeup and I'm going to show you how I do my hair. Right. And and I love that. And I love that because I hate the way it's so polished and manicured on social media. And it's almost like you're not allowed to look old. I go on all the time with bags under my eyes and going, yeah, I know I look like shit, but whatever. Like, I don't care. Right. I don't care because I think that it's the least interesting thing about me. Right. And I wondered was that a conscious decision for you to like show up and say, I'm going to do no makeup today and just show women that this is what I look like and this is okay?
Yeah, I do quite a lot. I do quite a lot. I mean, I like to post nice pictures of myself, and you know that are all sort of made up. But I often post pictures of me coming back from the gym where my hair's in the thing on the top of my head or whatever, because I think it is important. I posted a video. It was actually in November, and I did have some makeup on and my hair was done, but I really didn't pay any attention to. I just sat down on the veranda because I had this thing on my mind, had my glasses on, my old-fashioned glasses. You know, I love my vintage specs. So
you have really lovely taste, I have to say.
Those are real brand. I mean, they really are brand. They're probably from the 60s, I think. And I sat there at lunchtime. I didn't look at the light or my lipstick or what it was happening to my face. And I just said this thing that I had on my mind. And that video went absolutely crazy. I mean, it went absolutely mad. It got me, I think, I mean, you can't always tell if it's it, but it got me loads of new followers and it just went mad. But it got me loads of haters as well. And because they didn't understand my glasses, I wasn't looking my best. I was sort of sitting like this. So I was sort of wrinkly. I mean, I'm wrinkly. I mean, that's what happens. But, I was it was just the angle. I looked every bit my age, and that's okay. I mean, I'm not, that's fine.
So why did people hate you for that? Like, what did they hate about that? Like, what were the type of things that people so resistant against?
It was so weird because they did. I'd spoken, so I did a cycle race. I'd just done a cycle race, and I got off. Obviously, I didn't have my hair. I had my cycle. I mean, cycling is never sexy, really. Anything. So I'd met a woman and it was for a charity, and I'd done the cycle and I'd finished, and my brother had cycled with me and he was looking for me because we were split up, and he said to this woman who didn't know me, have you seen my sister? And she said, that elderly lady you were with earlier. And he laughed about it and we laughed. She didn't say it to me. So, and I mean, it wasn't bad. It wasn't meant badly at all. She was just using, it was just ease of reference, because I had silver hair and hair.
Yeah.
I suppose I had my hair was down because I had my cycling helmet on. Anyway, but I had just ridden a race and she hadn't. But anyway, we won't talk about that. So he was laughing, of course, because he's younger than me. He was like, whoa, you're an elderly lady, So, but I sort of laughed about it. But I was thinking about it. And I was thinking about, elderly lady, and so what I said in the video was, I don't mind being old. I don't mind being called old because old isn't a bad thing, a negative thing necessarily, but elderly, I'm not sure if it's a bridge too far. That was the gist of the gist.
Right.
The reason I'm telling you all this, because they picked up on that. And the women who didn't know me and weren't hooked into my message said, but you do look old. You should put a little rinse on your hair, or you should stop wearing those glasses. They're terrible. So it was because of the mess. It was because of how I looked, which would never have normally been a problem with my people who love me and I love them. It wouldn't have, been a problem. It was because it went to all these sort of new people. And there I was looking old because I'm old. And they just jumped in and either were nasty or very helpful, like just get a bit of Botox,
Yeah, really helpful. Yeah. Like, go and take it. Yeah. Go and take a long walk off a short bridge at a short pier. I think that's what we used to say. But ageism still is rife, isn't it? It's almost like, how dare you, Deborah? How dare you show up not looking perfect? Making it and not showing up with like perfect hair and looking like a 61-year-old woman. I went to a chemist here in Toronto, pharmacy, they call it here in Toronto. And when I went to pay, the woman said to me, can I apply the 10% senior discount? And I went and sat back in the car and I was having a bad day. I didn't my skin. I don't wear sickness well, and I wasn't feeling very well, and I really looked haggard. There was no doubt about it. And I sat in the car and I did a video and I was like, I've just been offered senior discount, and I'm like, I was a bit blown away about it. And I think it actually happens at 55. So in fairness, that was fine. I thought it was like 65, and I was like, I don't think that was fair. Anyway, but so
yeah, I think the comments that were the worst, it wasn't, get your hair colored or whatever. It was, oh, I think you look, because I said I'm nearly 61. So I was nearly 61. Oh, you look, they're 81. You look 71. You look 20 years older. It's like,
really? Stuff. Yeah, I don't get it. I don't get it.
Have you forgotten what 61 actually looks like? I think that's some of the problem.
I think it is, yeah. And I just think that we grew up in a culture where, like I said, we're not expected to get older and age. And when you do it, it seems radical. And I'm just like, I don't get it, right? But so for my people who are listening, hopefully a new audience for you as well, I sort of want to wrap the interview up by asking you to share some pearls of wisdom, right? So if somebody really is quite down on themselves and really struggling and wants to know, like, I feel frumpy and I can't be bothered to do my hair and all of these different things. I don't like the way my body looks and feels. What are some of the first steps that they can take to sort of flip the narrative on that? Like to just have a different conversation. I have my thoughts on this, but I'm just curious as to how you start that conversation.
Oh, it's a hard one. I don't know if I've got pearls of wisdom. I need to think about it. You sprung that on me.
Oh, yeah, I'm terrible. Well, I'll sort of like give it like from my perspective. And looking at your message, you've got experience of where two super really important people in your life aren't here, right? And aging is a privilege, right? And it sounds like an empty quote that we hear all the time, but it truly is. And I think that for me, so I had long COVID. I never got better for weeks. And at one point I was like, I think this might be how I'm always going to feel now. And I don't know that I want to get older feeling as sick as I do and not getting better and not thriving. And then I got better. And it was one of those things where I was like, oh my God, I'm never, ever going to take stuff for granted again. And I feel like I'm a bit of a whinger because it's sort of the same happened in perimenopause too, with my symptoms being so bad. And so I think that one of the easiest ways for me to say it to women is that, like, fucking hell, you're here and you're showing up and you now have potential. You've got another 30 years potentially ahead of you and you can do whatever you want. But you don't have to start big. You can just get up and just start making like these small changes and just change that ugly voice in your head.
Yeah, I think that's, as you were talking, I think the best advice is to just to take one small step, just really one little step, and that people are kind, people will help, if it's really something that you're not sure about, whether it's, starting to do exercise or changing, how you want to change how you dress a little bit. People are kind and you can always get help, especially today. There's always somebody who you can reach out to, who can give you a little bit of help. And one little thing, one tiny thing can make a difference. As you say, I started doing my exercise. I literally used to walk around the block. And then I started sort of running to the dustbin or running to the lamppost or whatever it was. And it became a little bit I'm a terrible runner. I've never really got the hang of running. But that's how it started, very small things. There's another lovely quote. Cindy Joseph said, aging is just a word for living.
Of course it is. And I love it. It's exactly that, isn't it? And if you sort of look at it that way, my kids always keep me on track and they'll go, yeah, you're one of the seniors in the house or whatever. And and if you can like own it, be there, be present and just enjoy it for where you are and what you've achieved. I think it's something that you can't truly experience until you've sort of maybe crossed the Rubicon into this time of our life. That's what I personally feel. I feel like women, we're this, like the foundation of this, of, you know, like our future generations. I feel like we're the ones that people should be coming to for advice, for holding each other up and stuff like that. And I'm seeing it more and more as like, maybe because of social media and we've got more of a voice, that we're standing out and going, we're not going to put up with this crap anymore, actually. And essentially, that's what I think that you're doing when it comes to how you can be pro-aging, pro-living.
Yeah, I mean, nobody wants to die, but nobody wants to get old. It's a weird thing, isn't it? You know?
Yeah. It doesn't, yeah. You can't do both. You can't do both. So what's next for you in everything you're doing, Deborah? What does the next couple of like months, year look like for you?
I'm going to go to England in July, I think.
To work or for pleasure?
Well, my daughter's moving there, which is very sad for me. And so I've got lots of friends, but I am English. My parents were English. I don't know if you know that.
No, but that's, you're like saying things like dustbin and things like that. Like you're using a lot of my term, chemist. And I'm like, is that how they talk in South Africa, or is that you?
No, I think it might be from where my dad was from, actually. I've never asked you.
Where's your dad from?
He was a Geordie.
Yes, so I'm not quite, but I'm from the northeast. And Geordies are, anyone listening, are from Newcastle, and I'm about an hour south of there. But I think I sound more Geordie since I left 20 years ago. My accent's all over the place. So I think I sound more northern than ever. But yeah, not too far away. Not too far away.
My mum was Essex, so south. So I've lived in England. I've been to school in England for patches. So I'm going to go to England to visit some friends and family and things, and I hope I can still work there, because I mean, in theory, the work that I do for brands, I can still do where I am. I can make content wherever I am. So I'm going to go and explore there a little bit. And I don't know, that's as far as I'm looking at the moment.
I love that though. That sounds awesome. Okay. Before we sign off, I want you to tell us your favorite red lipstick. Because I bet you when people start following you, they're going to go, what lipstick is she wearing? Like, do you have a favorite?
I don't. I've got so many that I don't. Do you know what I've got? I don't.
You can't, or you won't. Maybe this is like one of those trade secrets.
No, I don't have a favorite at the moment. I used to have a MAC, and I've actually spoken about this quite a lot. People who've been following me for a while will know I used to have a MAC lipstick that I loved, and they discontinued it because don't know.
My favorite MAC lipstick has been discontinued, and it's devastating when that happens, isn't it?
It was called Everyday Diva, and I loved it, and they've discontinued it. So now I've got a lot. I've got a lot of red lipsticks, but I don't know if one can float to the top.
Okay, that's fair enough. That's fair enough. I always think that I don't wear a lot of makeup, but when I go out, I always put red lippy on, and it's like makes me feel the most confident ever. I love it. It's like a magical power about it.
Superpower, for sure. Definitely is.
Well, listen, thank you, Deborah, for coming on. I'll continue to have fun watching your posts on Instagram. You're one of those ones that just makes me feel really happy, and it's so nice to just like watch you, and you know, I enjoy your content. And thank you for spending the time all the way from South Africa, coming on and speaking today.
Thank you so much, and I look forward to seeing yours as well. I love you in the snow, mostly.
Yeah, well, it's not snowing now anymore. Thank God, I need the sun. Take care. Thank you. Bye.
Thanks so much. Bye-bye.
Thank you so much for listening to the show. If you like what you hear, then why not subscribe to this podcast and leave me a review? You see, when you do this, it helps to raise the profile of my show and attract new listeners. And it also allows me to continue to deliver valuable content with great guests. And in return for you doing that, I will send you my 12-week core-focused program called Abs on Fire as a thank you. Simply drop me an email at amanda@amandasteve.com and I'll wing that your way. Bye.